Hey guys, it's Robin. So I have gotten quite a few questions lately about a whole house filter. So I've done a little digging. I do not personally have a whole house filter, but Multipure, the company I work with, sells a whole house filter. So did some digging, did some research, found out some information. I might eventually end up getting a whole house filter, but for now I don't have one. But I can read you two reviews of people that do have one and what they said about it. But first, let me talk a little bit about a whole house filter. So a whole house filter will remove chlorine and chloramine and sediment and rust and algae. It's really great for showers and baths and, delivering cleaner water to all your water outlets in your house, right? But even if you have a whole house filter, I personally would still recommend, and still for myself, would have a point of view system like an Aquaversa or an Aquaperform or an Aqualux or even an Aquamini on my point of use at my kitchen sink to make my coffee, to wash my vegetables, to boil my pasta, to make potatoes, to cook gumbo or soup. Because a whole house filter, I just said, is going to remove chlorine and algae and dust and sediment and things like that. But as far as removing the microplastics, the pharmaceuticals that make their way into our water supply, the arsenic, and those things, and all the other contaminants that end up in our tap water, you would really still need a point of view system on your kitchen sink. And why? Because if you're going to have something that's going to filter your entire house, that's going to remove microplastics, forever chemicals, lead, mercury, it would have to be gigantic, first of all. And the flow rate would be tiny. I mean, you would not get much water pressure out of your shower or your bathtub or your kitchen sink. And then in order to keep removing those type of contaminants, you'd have to change your filter out monthly. So it just really doesn't make sense. If you have questions about that, please reach out to me and let me know, and I'd love to answer them. But an Aquasource is Multipure's whole house filter. They started about $2,450, about $2,500. You can save 5% using my coupon code, which is 435899, or go to my website. I'll put all the information in the in the captions. And I'll put a link to the Aquasource, and you can have a spec sheet on it to learn more about it. So let me tell you the two reviews. I'll read to you the two reviews. So Greg said, I looked around for years for a passive filter system that was large enough for a whole house filter. I didn't want a high maintenance system, and the so-called whole house filters from big box stores are a joke. I luckily found Aquasource. I installed one of these several years ago and have loved it. The whole house is chlorine and sediment free. I hadn't had to change the refrigerator filter in years. Within just days, I could tell a difference on my skin. And as a former master plumber, I couldn't get over how high the quality of the product is. It is worth the cost. And then Sarah said, an incredible product for our family and home. We pair ours with an Aquaperform to have the very best water. Thank you so much, Multipure. So Multipure's Aquasource has a trio of carbon block filters. So there's 3 of them, and the capacity is 33,000 gallons. So I had emailed the company, and just to get clarification, because there are companies out there who sell whole house filters who claim that they can remove the microplastics and the pharmaceuticals and the arsenic with their whole house filter. So Multipure, I trust them a lot. They've been in business for over 50 years. They were the inventor of the solid carbon block technology. They are on the cutting edge of all the emerging contaminants, and they have multiple NSF certifications. And what's really interesting about the NSF certifications, NSF has certified over 23,000 water filters. But then when you break it down to how many of them are approved for certain contaminant reduction, that dwindles, right? So when you say we certified over 23,000, but only 8,000 of them tested to be certified to actually remove lead and mercury. And then when you start combining them and say which one removes arsenic and cyst, then that number dwindles even more, from 23,000 down to 100. And then when you put in forever chemicals and microplastics and those kind of things, and you combine several of them, there are only two out of 23,000 that NSF has certified that are certified to remove a host of contaminants. I think there's 6 that they combined. I have that information I can give you as well. If you want it, just let me know. And the 2 that are certified by NSF to do that are both Multipure products, the Aqualux and the Aquaperform. So that's pretty cool. So this is how they explained it to me when I asked about the whole house filter being able to remove all of those things. And I told them I didn't think, because in my mind, going down this water rabbit hole for the past 3 years, I did not know how that was possible. So he said, your instinct is correct. The Aquasource is not a substitute for drinking water at the customer's kitchen sink. It is possible that the Aquasource is reducing the concentration of other contaminants outside of what is published, but I wouldn't expect it to be great. It's not going to fully remove it. It's not going to meet customer expectations if they really want to remove that stuff from their water. As far as the pharmaceuticals, the microplastics, the arsenic. So a system engineered for these contaminants would necessarily be much larger, far more expensive, and may even still not meet customers' expectations. For example, arsenic. To significantly reduce arsenic V, the whole house system, and its current size configuration would have to deliver about 6 gallons per minute, with a total capacity of about 6,000 gallons that wouldn't even last a month. So you'd have to change out your filters all the time. So a much lower flow rate and a much lower capacity, and you'd be paying 2 to 3 times as much. So it just doesn't make sense. So I hope that makes sense. And again, if you have questions, just reach out to me and I'd love to answer them. But again, my coupon code will be below for any of the drinking water systems, the Aquamini, the Aquaversa, the Aqualux, the Aquaperform. I personally have the Aquaperform, and also the Aquasource, which might be my next investment for my house. Thanks for listening.